Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. First tonight, a coronial inquest into the Hillcrest jumping castle deaths is at least 6 months away, with the coroner waiting for the finalisation of key evidence and reports. Today, families of the victims heard for the first time what caused their child's death at a special pre-inquest hearing. A warning, some people may find this story distressing.
Visibly shaken, family and friends of the 6 children shockingly killed in the Hillcrest end-of-school tragedy leaving the courtroom. For many, it was the first time they heard the distressing details of the day when a fun end-of-year activity turned into disaster. This is the first step in their search for answers. Coroner Olivia McTaggart chairing a case management conference. The aim? Finding out whether there is enough evidence to start an inquiry into the tragedy. Lawyers representing the families and the jumping castle operators Tazorb also present. In her opening statement, the coroner said the incident affected so many people, including the Devonport community and other Tasmanian citizens. Families hearing the grim details of what happened on that fateful day. Counsel assisting the coroner, Lee Mackey, describing the wind that day as a mini tornado, the first time it's been described that way. The causes of death for each of the 6 children outlined by the coroner as part of the justification for the inquest. The purpose? To establish why each child died and help improve responses and processes for the future. An update into the investigations also provided, WorkSafe Tasmania reports and expert witness statements still underway. The court was told an inquest into the incident won't be held within the next 6 months because of outstanding evidence waiting to be finalised. Another conference will be held in the coming months, hoping to learn from the tragedy to ensure it won't be repeated. Mark Zita, 7 Tasmanian News.
A distraught Tasmanian family has lost everything in Deloraine's devastating floods and now claim they can't access financial support. A container of all their possessions was swamped in the disaster, but strict criteria for help could leave them empty-handed.
Everything the Rowe family owned is now in a soggy heap. A generation of family photos, their children's toys, and this is why.
The water level was kind of up around that mark.
Destroying everything in the container, which was a stopgap while they looked for a permanent home after the rental they were living in was sold. They only realised the container had flooded when they saw it on Friday night's news.
You almost feel like you've lost a part of yourself when you've got no photos and, memorabilia and stuff left.
You pick up something and a kid's photo falls out of it, or it's not good.
The family was already doing it tough. Tanya is on a disability pension while Matt was laid off during COVID. But now they've been told they aren't eligible for federal relief because the container isn't at the property where they're staying.
Because the damage didn't occur on our residence, they said apparently we don't meet the criteria. The damage has to occur at our residence.
Deloraine's riverbank is deceptively calm. I would have been underwater where I'm standing only a few days ago. But evidence of the flood's toll is everywhere you look. With the mass clean-up underway, a drop-in session for locals needing help will be offered in Deloraine tomorrow. Those in Latrobe had their face-to-face sessions today.
We're grateful to all those involved and appreciative that those people who need support and assistance are able to get that right here.
But for those most out of luck, it might not be enough.
What's next for us, mate? I don't know, to be perfectly honest. I'm not even willing to think about that at the moment, but it's not going to be a great start.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Meanwhile, insurers are bracing for a deluge of claims from those impacted by the floods. Around 400 have already been lodged by Tasmanians this week, with the weather systems which have plagued eastern Australia costing companies more than $5 billion this year. The industry is bracing for more claims, with additional wet weather set to hit northern Tasmania this weekend.
At the moment, working with authorities in both Tasmania and Victoria to monitor the situation and be able to get people out to help insurance customers if the worst happens.
Affected customers are urged to take photos of damage as soon as they are safely able to and make their claims immediately to kickstart the process. Former North Launceston football player Taryn Thomas is being investigated by police over allegations of intimidatory behaviour towards his former girlfriend. Now playing for North Melbourne, the Roos say Thomas is cooperating with police and the matter has been reported to the AFL's Integrity Unit. A man charged with killing a woman in Mornington on Christmas Day last year has entered a plea more than 10 months after he was arrested. Lawyers for Darren Mark Wake pleaded not guilty on his behalf in the Magistrates Court today. He's accused of murdering midwife Rachel Wake, with the case adjourned multiple times this year. Mr Wake will face the Supreme Court on January 30. An apology to victim survivors of child abuse in state care will now be made by the state government on November 8. No reason has been put forward by the state government for the change, but 7 Tasmania News understands it coincides with the anniversary of a victim survivor's death. It's the second time the date has been moved after initially being scheduled on the anniversary of the death of James Jeffrey Griffin. Local disability advocates have criticised the removal of mask mandates, saying they weren't consulted until a decision was made. As the Premier spruiks personal responsibility, they say that simply doesn't help those who need assistance.
COVID isolation is a thing of the past. Jeremy Rockcliffe led the charge when that was decided at National Cabinet last month.
And how could you so gravely betray Tasmanians with a disability who are now more vulnerable to infection, long-term health consequences and death from COVID?
People with disability may take extra precautions to protect their health if they, Mr Speaker, of course wearing a mask.
People with disability are required to be in close personal contact with individuals who may well be infected, and that's not necessarily a choice they make.
Disability advocates say personal responsibility doesn't work for those reliant on decisions made by others.
And these decisions that affect vulnerable members of the community should never be done without appropriate consultation with that community.
It's unfortunate that we approached after the decision was announced, but it is important that there is an ongoing relationship with all of the advocacy groups and all of the consumer groups.
A mask mandate in Parliament was also lifted today as the coverings disappeared from one side of the Parliament. The Premier says that's personal responsibility in action.
It's important that when people are sick, when they are unwell, then it is important to stay at home.
Last week saw an average of 99 new cases per day in Tasmania. No new COVID deaths have been announced since the start of last month. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Frontline health staff, including nurses, midwives, doctors and other hospital workers, will receive a $2,000 bonus next month. The state government announcing today the payment had been registered by the Tasmanian Industrial Commission.
This highlights the recognition that the Tasmanian government has for our hard-working frontline personnel across our health service.
Thank you for actually going forward through those months and months of uncertainty.
The frontline health bonus was one measure agreed to after strike action over workloads and staffing earlier this year. The sale of Basslink is edging closer, with bidders APA Group entering into a deed of company arrangement. It means the sale is expected to be completed in coming days. The company is being sold for $773 million. Energy Minister Guy Barnett says the sale helps achieve the state's energy objectives. Leading scientists are set to embark on 2 of their most ambitious Antarctic exploration projects in decades. With the season officially open, the missions will see Tasmanian expeditioners among those who will travel to the most remote areas of the frozen continent.
Traversing a challenging landscape, these makeshift homes are the vital base for a summer season on an epic scale.
It's the kind of activity we only get the opportunity to do once every few decades.
Deep-field science camps will be established as part of 2 separate exploration projects, which will run over multiple years. The first seeing a convoy of tractor trains travel 1,200 kilometres inland to their destination.
Hundreds of tonnes of equipment being dragged by bulldozers from sea level up to 3,200 kilometres in altitude.
Venturing deep into Antarctica to begin the process of drilling into a million-year ice core.
By extracting a core that goes 1 million years into the past, we will be able to reconstruct past climate, which will not only tell us about why that cycle of ice ages changed, it will also help us inform future climate.
West of Casey Station, the second campaign will get underway. The Denman Glacier, the focal point of the research.
Looking at the stability of the ice sheet, looking at thermal basal melt, so how the ice sheet is actually changing, the glacier is changing because of the warming waters.
Meanwhile, Australia's new Antarctic icebreaker will return from maintenance in Singapore early next year, where it's hoped to be available for operations later in the season.
At this stage, we're anticipating it arriving back in Hobart in April next year, and then it will conduct the annual resupply of Macquarie Island.
Another year of gaining critical knowledge of what's lying beneath the surface, all helping to paint a picture of the globe's climate change evolution. Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
The Launceston section of the North East Rail Trail proposal has been shelved for now, with the Dorset Council withdrawing its planning application from consideration at this week's Launceston Council meeting. The City of Launceston is hoping the delay will provide more time to engage with the Lilydale community over the plans. From floods to fires, Tasmanian authorities are turning their attention to the summer ahead. Despite recent wet weather, more than 100 members of the state's firefighting agencies turned out for a pre-season briefing in Launceston.
Sharing the information and ideas needed to keep Tasmania safe when summer brings the heat. A show and tell for the Fire Service, State Emergency Service, Sustainable Timber Tasmania and Parks and Wildlife.
What we have seen and what we have learnt from previous fires and over previous reviews is how important it is that we all understand what our roles are and how we can interoperate together.
The Bureau of Meteorology warning that for some parts of the state, summer may not be a breeze. The southwest again at risk as the La Nina weather system keeps rainfall watering other areas. State-of-the-art tools a key factor in accurate predictions.
The Bureau of Meteorology is introducing new technologies all the time, and they are certainly having an impact on our ability to forecast these events.
The state's Emergency Response Centre ready to pivot towards fire, with work already underway to protect delicate environments from worse damage.
We've already managed to get a few fuel reduction burns done in the southwest in preparation to try and stop those large fire runs.
An overhaul of the former fire danger rating system, hoping to better inform the public about the risk. Authorities saying the consistent nationwide message will keep communities and tourists safer. With a warning to Tasmanians, prepare now.
There will be fires in the landscape. There will be at times fires burning out of control.
Cooler heads prevailing here. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
A Tasmanian business has rolled out its new breed of tactical response vessels designed for high-performance defence, security and emergency services. Manufacturing group PFG is behind the Sentinel 1100, which is the latest design in its seaboat collection. It's hoped the boat will be a front-runner in the Royal Australian Navy's search for a new fleet.
The missions this boat will need to undertake are covert in nature and often behind enemy lines, so all the elements that go into signature and stealth need to be considered.
There is $2.7 billion worth of defence industry spending coming down the pipeline, and a third of that is for marine technology and boats.
The state government backed the operation with a $600,000 interest-free loan, helping design and build the vessel.
Scotland's T20 cricket team is brimming with confidence after their stunning upset win over the West Indies at Blunston Arena last night. World Cup hostilities were briefly put to the side today, with the 4 nations currently based in Hobart coming together for an official welcome event.
Securing a piece of Hobart for the memory books. Ireland, Scotland, the West Indies and Zimbabwe officially welcome to the city with special gifts today. Despite being away from home, they're beginning to settle in.
The weather isn't too dissimilar to the sort of May back home, so feels a little bit like home.
This is my first time in Hobart, actually first time in Australia. But in terms of the conditions, I've been to England and New Zealand. It's pretty similar.
Scottish players and coaches had an extra spring in their step. The Minnows stunning 2-time T20 champions, the West Indies, by 42 runs.
Hey. Not hit that. This could be that moment. It is that moment. It's held again.
Opener George Munsey made 66, but was instead praising his side's efforts in the field.
You can almost tell what the bowlers are thinking before they even bowled the ball. That's how close we are. So
yeah, I'm very proud of the way they did it. I'm proud of the fielders.
Zimbabwe are in a similar mood after defeating Ireland. Sikandar Raza, the star of the show. His 82 including 5 fours and 5 sixes.
Shot! Oh, what a shot!
Teammates praising his ability to stay one step ahead of the bowlers.
He knows his zone, he knows where he's strong, and he can make you bowl where he wants you to bowl, so I think that's one of the things that he's very good at.
Up next is the West Indies tomorrow, with a win crucial for the 2 test-playing nations.
We just need to come tomorrow as again and hit the straps, but give a good account of ourselves going forward with the bat.
We don't want to play their game. We know what they can bring on the table, but we also know what we can bring on the table.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania is in hot pursuit of the Redbacks entering the final day of its Sheffield Shield clash against South Australia. The Tigers need 131 runs to win at Adelaide Oval, but the day was headlined by a strange double hit which turned the tide of the contest. With the Redbacks on the ropes, Tasmania could afford to concede an extra run, but this one was nothing short of bizarre.
Well, this is unusual. Is that allowed? I don't think so.
As commentators reached for the rulebook, the umpire declared it was a legitimate run. Jackson Bird's ping at Jack Weatherall backfiring.
Jackson Bird immediately says, sorry, and then what's going on?
Tasmania's momentum was like a runaway freight train up until then. Peter Siddle had taken the first 4 wickets of the innings. Bo Webster would chip in with 4 more, but after the double hit drama, the Redbacks went from 6 for 89 to all out for 252.
And he's gone. A return catch, well held by Bo Webster.
Like he had in the first innings, Tim Ward composed himself well.
Down leg side, cry of catch.
Now it's up to the Tigers to catch the Redbacks total, a gap they're rapidly closing. Heather Graham was out to make a statement for the Hurricanes in last night's WBBL clash.
Nice, really nice. It's teed off straight down the ground. And it's the first maximum of the evening.
She top scored for the Hurricanes with 35, but the Perth Scorchers had no trouble chasing down the 110-run target, winning by 8 wickets. They play again tonight against the Sydney Thunder. And Tasmania has won its first medals in the Special Olympics. Our swimmers cheered proudly for Sarah Squires, who claimed the team's first gold in the butterfly at Launceston's Aquatic Centre.
Really fantastic. So proud of myself.
Riley Sue also won gold in the butterfly after a rough start to the day.
My first race was a shocker. I got disqualified and I came back with a 100 butterfly and I got gold medal.
Tasmania has 4 swimmers competing at the Games and 19 athletes taking part across the board.
Good evening. Butler's Gorge dipping to a very cold -3 degrees overnight, with temperatures about the southwest and central areas generally 2 to 5 degrees below average. Hobart 19 today, the state's high. Launceston 18, Burnie and Devonport both 15. St Helens, the Friendly Beaches and Ouse all reaching the high of 19 today. 18 at King Island, Flinders Island, Smithton and Strawn 17. 16 for Lowhead and Maria Island. The Harts Mountains 15 and 13 at Lyawini. A mix of high and low cloud over Tasmania today. That cloud increasing about southern Tasmania during the afternoon. Here we can see areas of cloud with scattered thunderstorms over the eastern half of Australia. A frontal cloud band is approaching Tasmania from the southwest and low cloud is being pushed over southeast WA. Tomorrow, a complex low pressure system lies over eastern South Australia while associated troughs are affecting much of the mainland. Tasmania lies between a high in the Tasman Sea and another high south of the Bight. West to southwesterly winds 10 to 20 knots, tending west to northwesterly during the morning, then increasing 20 to 30 knots about the south in the afternoon. Seas up to 1.5 metres, rising to 2.5 metres in the south. There is a strong wind warning current for the southeast and southwest coasts. Also a minor flood warning for the Macquarie River and the Meander River. 20 degrees in Hobart tomorrow, partly cloudy. A possible shower in Geeveston, 20, and Bothwell, 20 as well, with cloud clearing. A sunny day in Launceston tomorrow, 21, Devonport 18, sunny, and mostly sunny at Cressy, 21. Burnie a sunny 19, Strawn 17 with a possible shower there, and 18 and sunny at Curry. St Helens sunny tomorrow, 20 degrees, Swansea mostly sunny 19 and partly cloudy at Orford. The UV is 7 tomorrow in the high range and the sun will set at 7:37 p.m. A mainly fine day ahead on Thursday. Friday, showers developing in the north during the morning, then extending statewide later in the day. Showers on Saturday with possible isolated thunderstorms about eastern and central areas. A sunny day in Perth tomorrow, 30, 24 in Adelaide, mostly sunny, 23 in Brisbane, Canberra and Sydney, and Broome, a sunny day, 38 degrees. Currently in Hobart, it's cloudy, 16, Launceston sunny, 13, and Devonport also 13 and sunny. And that's tonight's weather forecast, Kim.
Thank you very much, Carmen. That is all we have time for this evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Now it is good night.